Hi, welcome to Clutter Bravado.
Yes, and it's the energy. It's not just about the stuff.
So we should probably just get into it, right?
Let's go.
Hello.
Well, good afternoon.
How are you?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? How was your weekend?
Weekend was great. So,
Yes.
well, we did a lot to support artists in different fields.
Yeah.
Do tell.
Okay, well, you went to your first comedy show.
I did.
And it was really cool to be able to take you. So I personally love stand-up comedy. I've started doing stand-up comedy. I find it really fun. And it's something I've been into since I was a kid. Like growing up with it was like every Friday night I would watch Comedy Central and watch stand-up on TV with my sisters and stuff. And I found that when I started going to more live shows, it's a completely different experience. And I wanted you to have that. Turns out you've never been to a comedy show in Los Angeles or in
Or
the
anywhere.
US or at anywhere.
Or anywhere.
So you got to go to your first one. What did you think?
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
There were a couple performers that were outstanding that I laughed. But they're fast. They just, it's like the way they think on stage. And look, I am always in awe of artists that are willing to put themselves, on stage or I think that's just an incredible courage. And to see them, go up and, the first guy who shows up and the room is just like, not
Completely
everybody's
cold.
sitting and
Yeah.
it's cold and
Yeah.
you're like, my God, the guts to just run out there and be like, yes.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was really fun.
Totally. And so we were at the Hollywood Improv, which I love the Hollywood Improv. I go there all the time. I have a lot of friends who perform there.
Right.
And so I try to go to my friends' shows whenever I can. And this was one of those. So like, it's really cool to be able to like know a few of the performers and then to have them share a lineup with someone that I consider to be a legend. And so I'm not going to drop names about it right now, but it was really cool. And I'm really glad you got to have that experience.
So in a broader conversation is we also went to Cliff Fong's art opening.
Oh, that's right.
At, Faire du Verre.
Yes.
This is new gallery. Bianca Chen is involved. So and I realized that supporting all the, different fields.
Different fields, yeah.
So
that was it Jody Barral? A ceramics artist.
Yeah.
And
Large scale. It was fantastic.
huge.
Yeah.
Very large scale, really creative, really cool. And unlike anything that I've seen, obviously, one of your closest friends is a ceramic artist as well. And it's really beautiful to see the medium done in so many different ways and used in so many different ways. And this was like these giant panels that I found really amazing. And the way that they were staged too, just the way that the entire place was put together is beautiful.
So I think it was just, a weekend to be out and support people, your friends on stage, because I think that was huge and it was fun and it was funny and then supporting, Bianca and Cliff at their gallery with a cool artist and showing up. I think that was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just want to do more of that. And, instead of being like, you know what, I had a long day. Be like, no, let's go. Those people are working. They're
exactly. And there are so many events that are happening here. And that's one of the reasons why I love LA too, which is that there's always something going on.
Right.
You just have to find it. This weekend, I've already been invited to 2 more comedy shows now with my friends. So, now I've got to go. And, and you've got to come with me.
It was so much fun. I laughed so hard at one specific one.
Yeah.
I thought she was.
I'll drop her name because she's a legend. She's a legend in the field. She's been doing it forever. Eliza Schlesinger, and she's one of my favorites. And to be able to see her just like showing up, doing her thing, she's so talented and she's so fast and she's so good. And also she's just coming back from tour. So a lot of these jokes are things that she's been working on for a while. She has a special that's coming out too. And I have looked up to her since I was like a teenager. Like I think that she's hands down one of my favorite female comedians, but also comedians overall. And it was so funny just to see you like doubled over laughing.
Oh my God. It was just like, she was, and you know, it's like, it's the delivery, it's the speed, it's how, I mean, it was just perfect. It was perfect.
So there's always something that's going on. You can always catch somebody, and that's what's great about LA. There's always somebody, even like a big name that you know would normally see in like performing at a huge venue is just doing a little comedy club because they're working on their stuff. And so especially at the Hollywood Improv, big fan of that place. And if you ever get a chance to go, like,
and the room was great.
The room was
great. I thought it was fantastic.
Food is subpar. Food is actually pretty bad.
I'm pretty sure you don't go to the comedy club to have a fine diner.
No, because any place that you go
experience.
is a 2-drink minimum, and if you're not drinking alcohol, then like, what are you gonna get? Mozzarella sticks?
I mean, if you're into fried food, it was perfect. Everything was fried.
I'm like trying to eat healthier, and I'm like, is there anything that I can do?
Nope.
It's like, nope, soda water with lime, I guess. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Oh man. We have so much stuff that is coming up and so many people that we are interviewing this month. This month is going to be probably one of the busiest that we've had so far with the podcast. It's really, really exciting.
Next month too, but yeah.
Oh,
this
and
month.
hey, I can only take one at a time. Okay. I can't handle more than 28 days at a time. I love February. It's the perfect length month. But we've got so much going on this month, and we're like putting the finishing touches on a lot of stuff for modernism, which is so exciting. And like we're doing some home tours. We're gonna be sitting down with I can't say their name yet.
Not yet.
I'm so excited though. It's gonna be so cool. So that'll be really, really fun. And there's also a restaurant that's opening that we get to check out this week.
And that I'm excited.
We'll talk more about it because we're going to be putting an episode up soon. But the new Alba LA, run by Julian Black, which is a good friend of the podcast and someone we're going to be interviewing too. So that's very, very exciting.
And he's
I get
a
to be
rock
one of
star.
the first people to go there. He's such a rock star because he's from Cucina Alba in New York. And then they moved him out here.
Yeah. Well, Julian has been, a mainstay at Carbone, and he's just young, top restaurateur. I'm very fond of him. Very, very fond of him.
He's great. I really like him. So, and we're going to go test out the food. Oh no, I've got to go eat some food at a delicious new restaurant.
And some pasta goes with
no, pasta. I'm trying so hard to eat healthy. Okay, I'm trying so hard.
It is healthy.
Is it?
Oh yeah, it's really well done.
Pasta?
Look, that kind of pasta, I think that, and we don't have to. We'll try a little bit.
No, I'm gonna eat it. Like
I know. I'm just trying to, wishful thinking. Me too.
No, you had a dinner party here over the weekend as well. And I was grateful to be in attendance. We ate very healthy.
Yeah.
Well, mostly.
Mostly it was fine.
Right?
Yeah. It was healthy.
There was pie.
There was pie.
It was good.
There was pie. And some ice cream. But
pie and ice cream, I feel like that's like an American tradition though.
It was. I needed it. I don't know why.
It's a cultural thing. You need pie and ice cream after a nice meal with your friends.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited about Jillian a lot. I'm excited about Palm Springs, and more comedy shows.
And more comedy shows. I'm not ready to invite you to come see me do stand up though. Not at all.
I'm working on it, but I get it.
You see me in here. I am probably the most casual right now that I've been here yet. Like I'm just, jeans and a shirt. Just we're casualing down a little bit.
Right.
Over time. We're in episode 20. This is episode 20. We're chilled out. We're a little bit more relaxed. But some of the things that I would talk about. I just don't feel like I want you to hear me talk about those things.
I hear you. All right. Well,
One of these days.
whenever
We'll
you're
get there.
ready,
We'll get
and
there.
you're like, or when you don't have a choice, when you're on HBO or Showtime and or Prime Video, and I'll be like, sorry,
Well, listen, I don't know
I
if
have a
that's
subscription.
I don't know if that's going to be my path, but
Well,
I'll
I
say
don't know,
that.
but if it does happen, know that I will be watching it.
Oh no.
Hopefully, I'll see it before on stage. But,
Maybe.
you know,
I don't
all
know.
right,
I don't know. Well, I gotta.
What do
I've got to keep things separated. You know.
What do I get to do? Like, do I need to cook better
What?
food so that I
No,
can?
that's nothing
No,
to
that's
do with
nothing
it.
to do with it.
No. No, you're my co-host of the podcast. We work together. I love working with you. It's great. Podcast is going well. Seeing me on stage doing inappropriate jokes, it's not.
I'm staying
It's
home.
not for you. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right. I get it.
Okay, we should probably talk about our guest.
Yeah.
So we have Javiera Estrada today. And Javiera Estrada is an incredible photographer that I had the opportunity to work with. That's crazy that we both knew her from completely separate times. But one of my friends had introduced me to her. She was looking for models. Well, she doesn't really work with real models. She talks about it in the episode, but she just wanted someone who was like interesting looking, and I was there, I guess. So she wanted me. I loved working with her. It was really fun. And she's so creative and just like really eccentric and just a fun person to chat with. Mm-hmm. And she was really great to have on the sofa. So, so yeah, we should probably get into that, shouldn't we?
Let's go.
Welcome to Clutter Bravado. We are here with Javiera Estrada. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good. How is it getting here today? The beginning of your year?
It's been, a bit of an intense beginning of our year here in Los Angeles. Trying to ground and keep calm and carry on, as they say. There's, also relinquishing control. It's like just letting go of what I can't control and controlling what I can.
I get that completely. Yeah. I definitely can. Like, there's so many things that we want to be able to like fix right now, and we're so powerless in a lot of ways, but just sort of like focusing on what we can do. And I'm sure that your art has like allowed you a vessel to put all of that energy into these, at least recently.
Well, I've been taking a little bit of a break because, but I'm just now getting back into it.
Yeah.
Because I left my home a bomb when I left the city, and I came back, and so I'm now grounded and ready to create again.
Oh, good. Rest is such an important part of the artist's process. I mean, we're going to go into more about the artist's process, but one thing that tends to be left out of the conversation is that artists need time to live and also to rest.
Yes. It's interesting because a lot of people, a lot of my good friends make fun of me for the amount of sleep that I need. I mean, but I've been this way my entire life. It's not like, ever since I had trouble waking up for school. I was always late for school because I needed more sleep, and I'm a night owl. So I'd be up, creating, and I need 9 to 10 hours of sleep. And I know that sounds excessive to some people, but I will be insane if I don't get that sleep. And then I, Googled like, do artists need more sleep? And it said yes.
They say though that women need more sleep than men. Have you heard about that?
That is just
that it's
nuts.
anywhere between that it's like an extra 20 minutes or something a night. I mean, I don't have like a study in front of me where I can tell you that, but women do need more sleep every night than men.
I'm at an age where
I think we think a lot more.
We do.
So then that, we think more. No.
That is so funny.
Mental exertion.
Really?
Yes, it's actually
that's the reason why you're gonna come up.
It's the emotional cycles of everything too. Yeah.
We could be making all this up. I don't know.
I know that. I'm sure that it's true. I'm certain that it's true.
I don't know. I'm at an age I need my beauty sleep 8 hours.
How many hours do you need?
I don't know. I don't need that. I mean, unfortunately, I don't need that many. but 7 hours is good. If I can get that, I'm feeling good.
Yeah. 7 hours. I mean, I'm the kind of person that gets 6. So like 5 to 6 is how I've just survived for so long.
But we've talked about that.
Yes.
If you put the phone down at
I
11
know.
o'clock at night.
I've been doing it lately. I've been better about it. Anyway, so when it comes to your process, especially like since we started off with sleep, let's get into that. So do you have like a nightly routine that helps to allow you to rest and then also helps to keep you energized for creating something in the future?
I'm now implementing a healthier night routine. I have a fantastic morning routine.
Oh,
That's winning. That's like solid. But my night routine, same thing. Like I've been getting off screens. I'm actually trying to implement like all technology out of my room as well.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, I need a clock. I need to get an old school like alarm clock.
Yeah.
So I've been researching like getting a plug-in alarm clock because I don't want to have electronics in my room. I think it does mess with your creativity a lot, and that the screen time messes your circadian rhythm, and then you can't sleep. And so I am doing my best to. I'm an avid reader, but I haven't been reading lately, and I'm trying to get back into reading more because I love to learn and I love reading.
Yeah. So I haven't talked very much about like what you actually do. So you are like me, multi-hyphenate artist. And you are incredibly creative, specifically with your photography. And then also you are doing visual art with clothing, which I find really fascinating. And part of me wanted to almost ask you when you came here, I'm like, do you want to bring me a piece? I'll wear it. Or I kind of want to just give you this and like see what you do with it. Because you're so creative, and everything that I've seen that you've worn and your purse today is gorgeous.
Oh,
and
thank you.
You have so much creativity that like oozes out of that. Let's start with photography. How do you connect with the story that you're telling with the images that you create?
So my process is a little different. I work backwards. I work backwards. I try to get out of my mind, because if my mind gets involved in the creative process, it's inevitably bad news. I've tried to do it that way. So for me, I'm a very sleep. I love my dream world is very, very vivid. And for a long time, I had a hard time differentiating between reality and dreams. When I was younger, like my memories were mixed with dreams until I realized like fish don't fly, but like I couldn't tell the difference, like because they were so real and so vivid. So a lot of my dreams have gone into works, like my In the Bedroom series is all about the subconscious mind and dreams. So when I start a process, I don't allow myself to think, oh, this is what I'm going to do. I just get these visuals in my brain and I have to create it. And I usually work in series, so I get obsessive, so I have to do like many, many, many of them. So for example, like my In the Bedroom series, I had this vision of like, I wanted to shoot nudes and semi-nudes in bedrooms and then collage them with like elements that seemed dream-like. And were fragments of imagination and also of the subconscious mind. So what happens to me when I start a series is I just start working. I get the visuals in my head. A lot of times in the middle of the night, I'll get an idea and I have a notebook of all my ideas and I'll write it down. And then I just create them. And then it's about halfway through the process that I start kind of like a psychologist analyzing what I'm doing, because as artists, inherently we're creating who we are and what's inside of us, right? And so I'm always blown away to see what the work is that I'm creating, because I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I've been into. Of course, right? Whether it's like search of self or a heartbreak or, whatever I'm interested in inevitably goes into the body of work. And then I kind of go backwards and create the context of it.
That's really incredible that you're taking your internal world and making it an external piece that can be shared with others. And obviously the experience that you're having with that piece is probably not the same that the average viewer is going to, but you're able to convey a feeling through visual. And I think that is like what an artist. So that's the definition of an artist, not just someone who's like, I think I want to do this and maybe I'll sell this and maybe I'll make this because people are buying this or this is what's trendy. You're really focusing on an expression that's really coming from a deeper place within. I think that's really incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like recently, I don't know, sometimes I'm like, why do I want to do this? This is so weird.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't like, I just obsessively made pom-poms and was like, this is going to be something. And then I created a creature and then the creatures turned into like another creature with yarn, which now I'm going to photograph for this new body of work I'm doing. And it's like,
wow.
It's so, and I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm like, oh, and then halfway through I analyze, I'm like, this is what it's about. Or like, why do I want to body paint this woman like a twister and then paint the background like a twister and a mannequin like a twister and put them all together? And then it's like,
You work with the nude body quite a bit.
Yes.
And you work incredibly well with models to create what almost looks like a landscape or a specific texture. Like you're using the human body in a very poetic way. And I imagine that has to be incredibly challenging.
It depends on, first of all, I don't use real models, which is...
Oh, yeah.
Usually they're either friends
okay.
or people that I've met. And then I'm like, you're beautiful. Can I photograph you? I'm like that creepy person that comes up to strangers and I'm like,
Really?
yeah, sometimes.
wow.
I mean, I'm lucky. I'm a woman, so like it'd be a lot harder if
yeah.
I was a man,
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I know what would make me comfortable, and I try to. It's shooting nudes also becomes a therapy session because a lot of these women have never shot nude before. Like I'm their first time they've ever done it, and there's a lot of insecurities and but it ends up being very healing for them. And I always try to tell them that before because they're like, I don't know. I'm like, trust me, you want to document yourself right now because in the future, like you're going to love to look back at these images of, yourself and celebrating your beauty. And inherently it does become like a healing session for them.
I didn't realize that.
Oh, it's very vulnerable
Very much so, yeah.
to trust someone to capture you in a way that is flattering and makes you feel beautiful and seen. I've never really had any complaints, people are like always blown away by the images because they don't see themselves and they get to see themselves through my lens because whoever's in front of my lens to me is the most stunning person. That's how I see people through my lens.
Yeah. I had the opportunity to work with you.
Yes.
That was so fun. And those weren't, they're not like prints that are available. But
take two. We'll do take two.
we'll do another attempt. But that was one thing that really stood out to me is that you were so attentive both to what you were trying to create and also to my experience working with you. And this is before we met. We did not know each other.
That happens a lot.
But I was one of the people that she was like, wait, I think because you like went through one of my friends, whatever, it was a whole situation, but like, oh, I need to photograph her. And you had an idea that you were really trying to like put together. And I think that honestly, like the photos that did come out looked really cool. But that is something that really stood out to me. You intentionally made me feel comfortable.
Oh, good.
And that was a really powerful thing because I, as a model, I've worked with photographers that make me feel very uncomfortable. It's really common in that industry. And for you to be so attentive and so careful with the people that you're working with, that is a talent in itself. Like that is an art form in itself. And it is a therapy session.
It's a total therapy session. And, when I was younger, I modeled nude for a couple of other photographers just to put myself through the process of, and I'm like, wow, this is tough. Like, I got to be more compassionate because, the things I've made my friends do are just, I really had some I had like someone put like, a dried beetle in their mouth, you know. Or like lay in freezing water, or like hold fetal pigs, or like a pig's heart. Like I had my Frida Kahlo phase, which is nowhere online because it's kind of dark. It didn't feel dark to me when I was doing it. It was just like, again, my process of obviously something needed to come out. But it's pretty intense work, and it was when I was in photography school that I did it. So I did have my friends do some pretty like crazy things now that I'm like, wow, they really did love me. I mean, the things I put them through, you know? So
yeah. So we've had another photographer on here as well, and she talked about the difference between being a photographer who creates an image and one who captures a moment.
Yes.
And I think that there is an overlap in that, because when you're creating, you're putting a model in a specific pose, and she has to stay just like that for a certain, adjusting the light to make everything perfect. There is still that sort of chance of getting that perfect frame.
Yeah.
So in your experience, like, have you done both? Because I know you also have worked a lot with like natural elements and with liquids and things like that, where it's really about capturing that 1 second. Like, what is your experience with that?
Well, it's interesting because I differentiate photographers as 2 different types: picture makers and picture takers is what I call it.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
So a picture maker is someone like myself who has an idea and needs to execute that idea, right? And a picture taker is more like a documentary type of photographer, someone that's really good at capturing the moment. And you can do both. You can be good at both. I mean, I've done picture taking like when I was younger and I just started doing photography. I was like, every photographer shooting babies and old people and flowers, you know what I mean? And like all my travels and, but I'm terrible. I did a couple of weddings and I was like, oh my gosh, I am the worst.
Oh, wow.
I'm not good. It's too much stress and pressure,
Wow.
Yeah, I've shot everything, but anyway, fashion but when it comes to picture making, I find it way more peaceful. And of course, like, sometimes I'm so specific where I literally have like an image. Like there's this one image in my series called Salt and Sea of 2 women, a black woman and a white woman, and they're intertwined. One's behind her and she's holding a skull. And that was a very like, I had that in my head. I sketched it out. I wanted to photograph that. But in that day shoot, there was a million other images that were just captured in the moment and improvised. So yeah, of course, you're never going to just get, the one image. You're going to get multiple things that are spontaneous that that's the magic of being in the moment as well when you're shooting.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen.
You've mentioned that the amount of like rest and preparation that you need, and
people are gonna think I'm just like
just like
I
sleeping
just
all the time.
sleep all day.
No. So my question for you is on a shoot day like that, things are gonna go awry.
Oh, and they have.
Something's gonna not work out the way that you want it to, and in order for you to still like capture something from that and not let that all be a wash, like what is something that helps to guide your mind away from the things that aren't going well to the things that are like to going with the flow, if you will?
That doesn't happen often, like luckily, right? I would say, okay, like for example, my whole Salt and Sea series is shot at El Matador Beach in Malibu, and you have to wake up at the butt crack of dawn to get there before everyone gets there. It's a very private beach, so that's why I like to shoot there. And a lot of times I've shown up and there's photographers also shooting nudes. It's pretty funny. It's the place that photographers know to go and shoot because they're not gonna go down all those stairs to like harass you. I don't know. So I've shot the entire series there. And one day I showed up and we were early and it's like 6 a.m. and I'm not a morning person. And there was a whole film crew set. And I was like, oh my gosh, we can't shoot. Like we gotta go, we gotta turn around. So I didn't shoot that day.
Oh, wow.
And it was a schlep to get over there and to wake up. And so we were like, let's try again next week, So to answer your question in regards to like if something's going wrong in the shoot, actually something so I have a friend and she's an amazing singer and I did her album. I've done a couple of her album covers
cool.
and I was shooting film, right? And so I shoot a lot of film, and to this day I still pray that it comes out because you just I mean you never know. I mean, luckily, like, knock on all the wood in this place, that doesn't ever happen. But like, I remember, like, my camera wasn't working, and I was like, "What?" And I have 2 cameras that I'm shooting with, and I'm like, I have all this film for this camera, and and she's in hair and makeup, and I had an assistant, and I was like, and then I was like, okay, it can only be, it's probably because the battery is dead. Something so simple. Right, that I made this mistake last time of not remembering about the battery and not using my camera. But so I was like, go to Sammy's right now and get this. And I was just like, as the time was ticking, and it was the battery, and we made it work. But like stuff like that happens a lot, where you're just like, or something gets stuck, or So you just try to keep calm and carry on.
So for someone who's really not an artist like me, so when you see...
what? No, I'm sorry. You are...
Well, I'm not a visual artist. I don't paint.
I don't paint. Well, I guess that's not true.
But you do paint.
You do paint.
That's true. On clothes. I'm not a painter. Right, I always like to stress that. I'm not a painter.
That brain of yours works that way. When you look through the camera, and then what you see, and then when it's done, how do you choose? Like, how do you?
Oh, I know,
does your
the
brain
edit.
Process that? Yeah.
It's well, first there's a couple of things. One, I have a hard time editing. Sometimes it's really easy, and it's like because there's so many good ones. It's just a matter of like a fraction of a second that's just like slightly different. That's where I go bananas, where I'm like, wait, this second or that second? Or, if it's digital, not usually with film, it's not quite like that. But with film, it's a lot easier to edit because I have less images and I don't spend, hundreds of frames on the same thing. But a lot of times I get insights from friends who are creatives and I get their input, and opinion. I ask people's opinion a lot to see that I trust. I don't trust everyone's opinion, but if across the board everyone's like that one, then I'm like, okay, there's something special about that one, And the other crazy thing is I don't always see contrast, which is wild. Like as a photographer, like all of my images when I was in high school in like the darkroom are literally gray. They're all gray.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I have to also ask like my printer, I'm like, is that contrasty enough? Because I see things sometimes like I don't always see it. It's bizarre.
That's so interesting because photography is really about like playing with light. It's light and dark and the balance of that. That's really fascinating.
It's like kind of being a blind person. I mean,
wow,
a little bit. It doesn't always see it. And then years, like this has happened so many times. I've gotten better at it where I will look at a shoot and I'm like, it's so flat. Like, what was I thinking? And then I retweak it. And I do that. I've done that a lot. Like where I'm like, but now I have to ask, like, do you think this is contrasty enough?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have other like photographer friends that you sort of like will bounce ideas off of or share.
Yeah, or artist friends, they're not necessarily photographers. But
okay.
Like, my best friend's a clothing designer and I asked her, she's got a really good eye.
Yeah.
So
that is something about artists, and that's one of the reasons why we have artists on this podcast as well as interior designers, because while this is a more design based podcast, we also recognize that art spans so many different mediums.
Yeah.
And having an eye, having taste is really at the core of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about what you're using to express something and how you're using it to express that thing. And having something to say, that's something that I really find too. And you obviously have something to say in your work.
Lot to say.
And from a designer's perspective, I mean, we have one of your pieces. We have a couple of your pieces hanging here.
Yeah.
But we have a 17th century console and we put one of your nude above it, and it changed. To me, it changed the whole vibe of almost the room.
Absolutely.
So the power of art is just absolute. For me, as a designer, the power of art is tremendous. I mean, obviously, I could not be living without it, and I think that, some people are like, or lighting, or for me, it's art. I mean, art is just, and knowing the artist and having that personal connection to the art, I think, is really important, at least to me. And so it was great to see when we hung your pieces how much it changed the vibe of the room. It was really cool.
Especially that nude in that room.
Yeah.
Because I had a little bit of a hand in sort of rearranging the room a little bit, and as soon as that was placed there, everything else kind of fell into place. Like, that is the focal point of the room. And the entryway here too is one of your pieces that's very big, and it's so colorful, and it has so much vibrance and energy to it. I mean, I'm a big fan of your work. I'm like trying not to just like sit here and fangirl over like what you're doing, but like it's really incredible.
Thank you so much.
So I also want to talk about the series that you did. Was it in Joshua Tree?
Which series?
Yeah, you,
like which
all
one?
of your cacti. So,
Oh, no. Those are the saguaro cactus.
It is? Okay,
yes.
that's what I thought.
Yes,
okay.
yes. Those
I
were...
knew I was
How
wrong.
long were you? How long did you were there for? What? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right?
I was there for a week.
Oh, that's it.
1 week? Okay.
Oh wow.
But I work really fast.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not someone who dawdles and like spends a lot of, like, I shoot really quickly. People always say that. They're like, what, we're done? And I'm like, yep. Got what I needed. Yeah, so I went and drove to the Saguaro National Forest in Tucson by myself.
Yeah.
And I woke up early. I'll wake up early for art. That's
Right.
like, that's the only time I'll wake up is for a shoot. No, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to change that too. But, and I, there was a really healing experience for me because, I had gone at that time when I did that, which was like a year ago, right? I had been through a really painful breakup. And it was the first road trip that I took by myself. So it was a very cathartic experience to be doing this work, which was actually all about transmuting pain into beauty, right? So the theme of this work, it's called chromatic alchemy. So it's about, going from being in this desert, arid landscape where you think nothing's going to grow here because there's a lack of water, but somehow life thrives. But in order to thrive, they have to protect themselves with thorns. And so I kind of saw myself as a cactus, right, that had been living in this monotone, arid breakup environment. And a lot of times we as humans, when we go through trauma, I think we create like these energetic thorns to protect ourselves from the outside, especially if we're sensitive people. And so my idea was, what if like I took that and turned it on its head and made this like, arid landscape, this beautiful, colorful, fun space to be. And so I went there with my camera. Actually, Leica lent me their camera because it was a show for Leica.
Yeah.
And, I'm old fashioned. I like to do things in camera as much as possible because I don't like to be on the computer. So, to someone that doesn't know photography, they'd be like, oh, she just did that in Photoshop, which I didn't. I went and like had colored gels. And so like if this was my lens, I would like, put them in front of the lens, and not everything worked. And it's a bit tricky to do. It's like technical because of the shutter speed and the f-stop to make it so that you don't see the line. And anyway, it took me a minute to figure it out, but then I did, and I just went bananas. I just drove like all over to like all these different cactus like obviously the Saguaro National Forest, but also some like conservatories and other places to capture the cactus. And so that was what that work was about.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's one here in the showroom, in that not in the bar area.
Let there be light.
Yeah. Oh, it's
I
it's
love
so beautiful.
Oh,
it's
thank
so
you.
beautiful.
I went to your show with Leica.
You did go to my show. Thank you for
really fun.
coming. Yeah, it was really fun. They always have a good time there. Yeah, it was a really fun show.
Wow. So I want to pivot just a little bit to what you're doing with fashion as well.
Yeah.
because I love the story of like you're going through a breakup, you drive out into the desert and you go make some incredible art and put it up at like that's like the artistry. It's romance. It's beautiful. Self-romance. But with the work that you've been doing with clothing, I remember you telling me that this was sort of something that you really got into during the pandemic.
Yes.
In a place of isolation. So tell me about how that all came together.
So, I've always been into fashion since I was little. Like the first thing I ever wanted to be was an artist, and then a ballet dancer, and then a fashion designer.
Great.
Right. And so since I was little, it's kind of a full circle thing for me, because when I was in high school, I used to make my own clothes. Like I was a serious hippie. So I'd make like patchwork pants and crazy dresses with like butterflies on it. And I dressed really eccentric, as you can imagine, when I was little in Atlanta, where people were wearing like purple socks, purple shorts, and a purple scrunchie, like all matchy. And I just was wearing like my mom's like neon leggings and like a Guatemalan belt around my neck. Like I just looked crazy, like a shirt that I made. And so I got made fun of a lot, but I was like, one day you'll see that this is special and cool.
I love that. Like that. God, the kids that have that kind of creativity end up like us. That's
the
where
misfits.
We came from. Yes, exactly.
Yes. The outcasts and the misfits.
Oh, I love it so much. Okay, continue.
But anyway, I digress. Okay, so it was a pandemic, and I was like, like everybody, what am I going to do? So I was cleaning out my closet. I was like, I'm going to clean out my closet. And then I started seeing all these beautiful like leather pieces that I was like, I don't want to throw this out. It's so well made. It was from this woman that I knew, but it didn't spark joy anymore, And so then I thought, well, maybe I can because I love changing things to, upcycling. Like I hate waste. It's actually a big passion of mine. So I was like, I'm just going to upcycle this and paint on it. And so then I'm really obsessive. So whatever I'm into.
It's the hyperfixation of ADHD. I get it. I fully understand.
I mean, right now, like I'm into ice dye, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and it was like my pants were dyed, my shirt was dyed, my hat was dyed, and then I'm laying in like my dyed sheets. It's just sometimes too much. But and so I started painting on the purse. That was my first purse.
That was the first one.
Yes, that was the first one. That started it all. And then I saw this black leather trench coat, and I painted that. And then I just got so many compliments everywhere I went. People would stop me and they're like, I love your dress. I love your purse, or your jacket. I was like, oh, I painted it. And I'm like, can you, do you sell them? And I was like, no, but I can.
But let me think.
But maybe I can. So then I went bananas. I bought all of this, and I'm a snob, so it's like it's got to be a certain cut, and it's got to feel good, and blah blah. So then I started sourcing all this leather, and at first I got really beautiful pieces because I thought people cared, like Christian Dior and Yves Saint Laurent, and nobody cared. And then I would reline them in silk, which was a fortune. So they were they're gorgeous, stunning art pieces, because I was like, I'm going to be like Andy Warhol, and these are going to be wearable art pieces.
That's fair.
And then they were ridiculously expensive, and nobody bought them. And then I was like, okay. And so then I got cheaper pieces, didn't reline them in silk, but having to learn that whole thing was a huge, working with silk, getting a tailor, just all these things. So, and my friend who's a fashion person helped me with this, because I would not have known what to do. So then I had a whole collection called the Metal Rat, because in 2020, it was the Chinese year of the Metal Rat. So I called it the Metal Rat, and each piece has a new, a number. So it's this is 1, 2, 3, 4 of this collection. And then nobody cared about that either. So I realized I put a lot of detail and care into things, and maybe I just haven't found the audience, but now, and I got an agent. I mean, it kind of just, organically happened.
Yeah.
A lot came together, and then I went to New York and I sold some pieces, and people liked them, and I still have the Christian Dior, very expensive leather trench dress. Yeah. But, whatever. It's part of my process. So yeah, that's how it started.
I want to talk about that actually, because as an artist, like I have an album, I have 2 published books of poetry, and I have like a lot of things that I've created that people don't buy. Don't get me wrong, one of my books did sell very well.
Well, that's amazing.
It did, but like very well within like my community and like
That's
other
something.
poets. But for something to sort of like grow on a larger scale, and like even, you know, we're starting off with this podcast, and like when people don't seem to like connect with it right away, whether it's from distribution issues or people just don't know about it, or maybe they just genuinely don't care. How does that affect you as an artist?
Yeah. So, you know, I had an epiphany actually recently. I think I shared this with you guys. I'm not sure. I'm having deja vu about it. But so, you know, I do a lot of different things. Like I get really geeky, and like I could go down rabbit holes of different creative projects. And I had the idea that just because I'm good at something doesn't mean I need to make money from it.
Thank you.
Like, you know, otherwise I would just, again, ADHD is like, oh, now I can make this. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not, you know, like, this is not, like, I'm digressing from what I'm supposed to be doing. But I think as artists, we enjoy learning and we enjoy process. And that's the most important thing. I don't really care what happens to my creations after it's weird. Like, they should get out of my sight, because I just am like,
oh, interesting.
I'm not attached. There's very few pieces of art that I'm like, oh, I'd be sad if I didn't have that. Like, I'm not attached to any of it. I just love to be in the process. Like, and the more laborious, the better, you know? So yeah, you know, like with the wearable art, my agent was like, because the first time I went to New York, I broke even. And she's like, you know what a miracle that is? Like, most people don't.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, it was a failure.
Yeah.
I failed, you know?
Yeah.
And she's like, you didn't. Like, most people don't. They lose money. So anyway, I can easily do that, like go and then spiral down. But I've done a lot of work on myself to realize that it's just feedback.
Yeah.
It's all feedback, right? And so instead of feeling like, I'm like, oh, maybe I can, I'm not talking about that specifically, but like if something else doesn't, you know, catch fire, I'm like, maybe I need to pivot. Okay, how can I, so now I'm like, instead of seeing something as not working, I just see it as feedback. And so I either go stronger with it, or I start kind of going around and be like, well, maybe I don't need to reline them in silk. Nobody cares. Maybe I could just, you know, not spend a fortune on these. Maybe I could, you know, so you just kind of start, you know, but I used to have that problem where if something didn't work out, I'd just abandon mission and be like, that's it, I'm doing something else.
Yeah.
But
And I think you have to stay true to yourself a little bit and be able to do something that makes you happy.
see, that's the balance, because it's like, how, like, you can't pivot so much to where you've completely lost the train
yourself,
like
yeah.
you know, where you're like, wait, now I'm doing this, and this is nothing, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah. That is such a hard line to walk.
Yeah.
When you're, especially when you're creating like visual art or creating music too, when there's something that you want to say, you have a style, you have something that you really like to create, and then it doesn't do especially very well. You're like, okay, so do I pivot this more toward what the people like?
It's like,
No, I would rather abandon it.
I mean, look,
But yeah.
I mean, it would behoove me to do that,
Sure.
but like, no, I mean, then I could just be working at a Piggly Wiggly. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
right? It's like,
yeah.
what's the point of being an
Exactly.
art? I mean, what's the point?
Yes.
There's,
Yes.
yeah, so there's no point.
Yeah, that is such a challenge. It's such a challenge. But at the same time, when you create something that is really authentic and really uniquely you, more often that is something that people are drawn to because they are curious about it.
It's so true.
It's not something that they understand yet. It's not something that they've seen before. So it gives you the
Yeah.
opportunity to be the first to share that. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, like, as artists, we can't help but be influenced by things, right?
Of course.
I mean, there's things I've done that I was like, I mean, I shoot nudes, but then I was like, maybe I should do some abstracts, like maybe I should make some money. This was like a long time ago. And I'm never going to do something that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, even if I'm doing an abstract, like, I'm still going to do it the way that I do it in my own way, but it was a conscious decision of like, abstract sell, but yeah, it's hard because you have to like shut off all those voices and just do you and your weirdest, expression.
So I have 3 questions that I ask for every one of our guests.
Okay.
And you can answer them honestly, thoroughly, or you can just say one thing. However you want to answer it is entirely up to you. Okay?
Okay.
First question. What is the messiest place in your home?
Oh, my studio.
Naturally.
Always. And what's funny is that every time someone comes in, I'm like, it's not usually like this, which I'm like, why am I saying that? It's always like this. It's always like this.
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally, what I should say when it's clean, I should say it's not usually like this, because that is true.
I love it. Are you one of those people that's like that when everything is a mess, you know where everything is, and when things are cleaned up and put away, then it's harder to find everything?
No, so it's interesting because I have like 2 sides of myself that are always fighting: the super OCD neurotic clean person and the super messy creative person. I'm always struggling with those 2 because I could be that person that's just like, everything has to be in its right place, if every place in my house is a mess, I can't think. I have to, there's no way. I have to have the kitchen, the bathroom, like there's certain places that need to be straight up organized. If they're not, my brain just doesn't function. I can have like a couple of messy, but if the whole entire house is a mess, I can't create. So the first thing I do is clean.
Got it.
To start fresh, before I start a new project.
Yeah. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Anytime that I'm working on something new, if I need to get creative, I first clean my house. Yeah.
Helps you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, second question. When you walk into a space, what is the first thing that you notice?
Oof, that's a really good question. Well, it depends on the space, obviously. Usually the first thing I notice, lighting is really important to me. I mean, it's like assaulting to my senses when I go into a space where they have all the overhead lights on. Yeah. And they have it's just like, you feel like you're in an operating room. And so sometimes like if I go to a party and they have really bad lighting, I just secretly like go against the wall and just start dimming things. I do that. I start like changing the lighting, and I'm like, I'm going to put that lamp on and I'm going to like turn this off. And I try to do it inconspicuously. I do that. Yeah. Cause it's really hard for me, lighting. And then the other thing I notice, is like the feng shui of the space. Like whether like if the energy is moving in a space, and, if the space is like really nicely put together, if a space isn't nicely put together, I start moving furniture around in my mind.
Yeah.
I start redecorating people's houses in my mind. I do that a lot. I'm like, I would move that. I would move this. Yeah. It's a neuroses.
I mean, but it's like it is the artist's way. Like when you have an idea, like the designer's brain too. When you have an idea in your head of how something ought to be, you kind of like, and in your head you're just like, I would just move that chair over here. I do the same thing.
I have a confession. I do have some Zoom meetings, and sometimes it's so hard for me because I look at the background and I'm like,
You're looking
He's
at
gotta
people's
go.
I love it
rooms in
through the
background.
Zoom.
This gotta go. This piece of art is just atrocious, and I'm like, it takes me so out of the meeting, and I'm like, no, I gotta focus on what someone is saying. But yeah, I can't help
Like
myself.
if someone has like a live, laugh, love behind them.
Oh, the art. I always look at the art. I mean, that's an obvious one. I look at the art. Yeah, a live, laugh, love. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, they're people too. You know what I mean?
For
No,
sure,
yeah,
for sure. I love like
I'm not
I get it.
We're not judging.
Oh,
but,
I'm judging.
boy, sometimes
We
it
are-
takes me out.
I think we're judging. I think we're judging.
We're definitely judging.
Yeah, we're definitely judging.
Okay, but not harshly, and nothing about them as a person.
No. But I look at the art and I'm like, you know, it's interesting to see what people put on their walls,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it also sort of reflects how someone sees the world as how they are creating their space in their home.
Yes.
Definitely. And then there's so many factors to it. I don't have all the art that's in my house is art that I made. So
I mean, same. I mean, it's like, I mean, why would I have it? You know, I have so
Right?
much. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I have a couple. No, I mean, I have other artists too, but I have a lot of my work up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have one more question for you. And I'm going to tailor this. It kind of changes with each person. I'm going to tailor it specifically to you. But what is your favorite place that you have photographed?
Oof.
Whether the space was the image that you were trying to create or whether it was something that took place in that space.
That's a really hard question. What is my favorite? You know, I don't know if I have an answer to that because, I mean, I love photographing, so that makes me really happy. Wherever I am, is there? I mean, okay, and this has nothing to do with art, but this was like just heaven on earth for me, where I was, and I didn't have my camera, but I had my iPhone, so I was photographing with my iPhone. But I love fountains.
Yeah.
And gardens, like obsessed. Like I want to go on a garden fountain tour, like one day in my life.
Yeah.
I want to do a project with fountains. I love running water. It feels peaceful. And so I was in Italy at this Villa de Este, and it's this like World Heritage site, and I was just blown away. It was like fountain heaven.
Oh,
it was just
wow.
like fountain after fountain after fountain after fountain. And I couldn't get enough. And I was videoing it on my camera. I'm going to use it one day for something, but I want to go back there and photograph it. And yeah, that was one of my favorite places I've ever been. I was in heaven. It was just like water feature after water feature after water feature. It was really special. Yeah.
I mean, Italy is full of them. Yeah.
Yes, that's why I
Yeah.
love Italy. Fountains. I mean, and other reasons. You can drink wine and eat pasta all day and not get fat. It's like heaven.
I
like
I
heaven.
wonder how
That's
they're
heaven.
able to rig it that way. Like, why is it that in America, if I try to live that way, it doesn't go the same?
No, it doesn't work the
You
same.
know, that's a cool trip to do. Trip through Italy, the fountain through Italy.
Yeah.
Just
In an artistic
Chasing
way.
fountains.
Chasing fountains.
the fountain of youth. No, just not fountains. But yeah, I have a
Wow.
friend in Italy, in Tuscany. He's always like, "You can do an artist residency here," and I'm like, "Yes."
Oh
And-
my
and
gosh,
because
do that
because
today.
That equipment is heavy. I probably should come and help.
Yes, exactly. You both should come and carry my gear.
Great. Great.
I think so, and we could help you. You know,
I'll
for
model
the
for you.
filters.
Yep.
You need to be in a fountain.
You know,
I'll
I
go
was
in a
thinking
fountain.
that. I was like, could I actually shoot a nude in a fountain?
Yes.
I had this idea, like it'd have to be really, really early, but like I think the Italians wouldn't mind.
No.
Oh, they
would love it,
no,
right?
They would love it. They'd
Yeah,
be
that's
like,
what I thought.
I'm
Vera
sure that would be
Ragazza.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you need a model, I will go to Italy.
And if
That
you need a
sounds fine.
schlepper, I'll come with you.
Yeah, perfect.
I love it.
Perfect.
I love it.
Wow, that sounds fun though.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
It is a kind of a fun concept.
Right?
Yeah.
But I would do it kind of in the same way, like, you know, that I did the cacti. I would
Right.
probably create
adding some color.
yeah, to the fountains.
I love that. Have you? So,
Because I thought about dyeing them, but I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I can't,
If
but-
you're not that stay, I think they're gonna tell you.
They
to.
would
That's
be
where
a
they would be
little
upset.
mad about
Yeah,
If
the-
I
the
just
naked, the naked woman in the thing, they'd be like, okay, fine.
But like,
We'll have an next person watch, but the
but like
dye-
pink water, wouldn't that be so beautiful?
That would be really neat.
I know.
I agree with you, but
also, I could just use a gel.
Yes. A gel would be fine. Do you have any projects that are coming up that you're working on right now?
Yes, I have 2 projects, and my goal is to focus on one at a time, which is really hard for me.
Yeah.
Very, very hard. So that's my new goal. So I have 2 projects. One is called What Happened to Twister. That's the one that I'm working on with the pom-poms and the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so what that one's about is, I grew up, and I feel so privileged and lucky that I grew up like the last generation to not grow up with social media and phones and internet.
Same.
Really.
Yeah.
So, I used to ride my bike all day long without a cell phone. You could do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore. So anyway, and also like used to play together with other people in person. And now people are so isolated, and they have friends that they've never met that are online, playing games. And so it's kind of about what happened to the days of Twister, of like physically coming together to play instead of being isolated. It's also about social media and about like the self-centeredness of like me, and all of that. So I'm excited about that one. It's definitely the weirdest body of work I've ever done. It's very quirky. And then my next project is the Narcissist Project.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to let us know now. We'll ask you the next time that I like it when it comes out. I'll make sure to have you on again. So
yes, I've been working on that too, but I put it on pause. Yeah. It's called He Always Bought Me Flowers.
Don't look at me that way.
I'm not looking at you. Sorry. My mind just
don't be like you're gonna be on that film. No.
Sorry, I just my gaze went there, but I was not looking at you. I was not.
I'm looking
Sorry.
at it, I'm like,
No.
is she thinking that maybe I should be in that?
I just zoned out at you. It wasn't. Sorry.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I am so interested in that. That's
Right.
yeah. I want to.
Yeah.
know so much
Well,
more
I've
about
become
it,
a professional. You asked me, what am I a professional at?
Yeah.
I have a PhD in narcissism. I swear.
Wow.
I've researched. No, not really, but like
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
But
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I firsthand experience.
Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause when you've dealt with it, it's
You
you have to learn a lot about it in order to like understand what it is that you're going through, because when you have an experience with someone who is a narcissist or has narcissistic personality disorder, you don't know what's real.
No,
Crazy. That's an entirely different
That's a different
conversation that
podcast.
we will absolutely have the next time that you're on. I would love to chat
Should
more
we
about that.
Should we do the opening here?
Yeah, that'd be great.
We should.
Well, it's a huge. I mean, I don't think you have enough wall
That's not
space.
enough walls.
Not enough wall space. I have huge tapestries that like are from there to there. Like,
fun.
yeah, no, it's really
Oh, wow.
crazy.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
no,
Amazing.
it's psychologically fascinating. I love psychology, so
Yeah.
it's interesting.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so.
You mentioned psychology already twice.
Yeah.
I love psychology. I mean, I think like, I think we're all just at the end of the day trying to understand ourselves, right? Or I'll just speak for myself. I'm trying to understand myself better, and so through art and contemplation, I'm always striving to be better. That's my intention. I mean, I'm far from perfect. And it takes a lot of work to like fine tune yourself and unprogram from all the programming that we grow up, whatever our story is, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here today.
I'm so glad. Thank you. This was really fun.
I adore you. Your outfit's
adore you.
amazing.
Oh.
You're amazing. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. And we have lunch for you. So
I love food. I mean, I'll do anything for food. Almost anything. Almost anything.
well, perfect. You won't have to. We have it ready for you. Well,
Thank
you so much.
Thank you so
so
much.
much.
This was super fun. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.